Hello, I'm Helen Cummins, and this is Mallorca Living, a space dedicated to those who are dreaming of making Mallorca their home. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Rachel Clacher from Wrexham in North Wales. Rachel, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you.
Well, it's great to be here, always.
So, Rachel, how did you come to have a second home here in Mallorca? How did you discover the island and discover Mallorca?
Well, as a family, we'd been coming from, several years, different parts of the island, and we then made the decision that we would look for a second home. And we luckily had some friends who live in the centre of the island, and our initial thought was that we would look for somewhere that was on the coast, but through conversations with them, we kind of honed what we were looking for, and we realised that what we were looking for was community and a year-round place to live. And so we've ended up buying in beautiful Alaró in the middle of the island.
Fabulous. And had you already known? Did you know Alaró at that stage?
No, I didn't. I didn't know Alaró at all. In fact, our very lovely estate agent introduced us to the village. But the minute we got there, I just knew that was going to be home for us.
Why? Why was Alaró kind of calling to you and your family?
Well, the brief that we wrote for ourselves was that we wanted to be part of a year-round community, that we wanted somewhere very beautiful, that we wanted somewhere not so far from the airport. And actually, people at home were saying, "Oh, you'll never find somewhere that answers all of those." All of those questions, but we did, and Alaró there is a very strong sense of community there. It is a vibrant town all year round, and it's beautiful.
Super. Yeah. I know your home. I've had the pleasure to be in your house. Can you describe a little bit of what the property you bought and why you chose that particular
yes, of
property?
Course. I mean, as also on our list on our brief that we wrote for ourselves was the fact that we wanted somewhere that was on the edge of the village, so that we could walk to bars and restaurants and to see the world, but that also we would have our own private space. And what we've found is a place that's right on the edge of the village. When you're in the house, you would have no sense that you're in the village, because we've got beautiful views of olive groves and sunsets. But literally, you walk out another door and you're in the heart of the village. It's quite extraordinary, really.
It is actually a very unusual property to find.
It's like you open the door and it's like out of the village, and it's like a different world in there.
It is. It is. It's like an oasis, right?
It
in
really
the centre of the village, and it's quite traditional. That's the feel. Although you've made it much more modern with the furniture and so on. It feels very like an old historic home.
Yeah. I think it was one of the main houses of the village, and there were spaces where animals were kept underneath, and the old carriage sheds and things like this. But yes, so we've been very lucky. But that's what's so beautiful about Mallorca, is that the bones of our buildings are so strong and beautiful. The beautiful honey stone that's here, the moraine stone, the beams that are a feature of so many homes with the huge arches. So there are so many traditional features that just lend themselves beautifully to sort of living in a kind of timeless way.
So there's no mistaking that you're here in Mallorca in the Mediterranean, right?
Yeah.
When you enter your home, because it's olive trees and you have lovely citrus trees.
Yeah.
And
we're growing our first pomegranate tree. We've got our first avocados. It's beautiful.
So you've really embraced the Mediterranean essence.
Absolutely, and that's that indoor-outdoor living. We've turned even more of the outdoor areas into living areas. They weren't really used by the previous owners, and we've really made the most of every single thing that we've got there. I think we know that even at Christmas you can be sitting outside having even your Christmas dinner in the sunshine, can't you? So actually we've got different spaces for different times of year.
Did you do a lot of reform to the house?
We did, not a lot, but we did a fair bit. There was one huge part, which was the original carriage shed, and we converted that into a self-contained apartment, put 2 bedrooms upstairs. And that was a really important project for us, because it was through that project that we then met Francois and Jess Coertze, who, as you know, and with them, we've set up a property development company. In Francois, I was lucky enough to find a builder who I just loved working with. I love buildings, I love spaces. I've done a load of building projects, and I've never worked with anybody as fabulous as Francois on a building project. And at the time, we were making some pretty dull investments at home, and I just said one day, why don't we just invest in Mallorca,
in creating beautiful homes?
Yeah. And why don't we invest in Francois and Jess and in doing more of what we love there? Because everybody who came to our home felt that it was very special, and I just felt that there weren't enough places that offer the same things.
Absolutely.
Available locally, and so that's where we've spent a lot of our energy. So actually doing the reform took us on a very unexpected path, for this business, which is growing and thriving, and it's just so exciting to be a part of, and it's totally unexpected.
Yes. But I think you've kind of raised the bar in Mallorca in terms of reforms and new built homes. Would you? I mean, from my experience of what I've seen as the end result, I've definitely been quite like, wow, that's amazing to arrive at that level of finish on a new build or on a reform.
Well, I would like to think. I would like to think so, and I think what we have set out to do with Coertze Clacher is build the houses that we would want to live in ourselves. So there's a no compromise approach. It's not about design for design's sake. And every house, we've got about 9 projects now, and more in the pipeline. But every house we imagine ourselves living there, and what would we want if we were there? What standards of design, of finish, of feel, of comfort would we want? And I think that's resulted in something quite special.
Yes, absolutely. Because you understand how you want to live, and potentially then other clients like yourself, you've already completed that for them. Absolutely.
And it's not just about thinking, what's the house? How's this house going to be a home today? In August sunshine, how's it going to feel in January when it's cooler but the skies are blue, and it's about looking at it all year round.
But you really do go the extra mile, because I always remember seeing one of your projects, the 2 houses you built at the top of Alaró. And we were in the garage, and I jokingly said, I suppose you have underfloor heating here. And Francois said, well, actually, we did put underfloor heating in the garage, because maybe people want to use it for another purpose other than a garage. Absolutely. And I thought to myself, what property developer goes to that expense to do it? And I think it just absolutely demonstrated, the level at which you finish your properties.
Absolutely. And I think it's a real love and excitement about the buildings themselves. How possibly could somebody live in this? And so I think, even, when we bought our house in 2019, it was also quite difficult for us to furnish it here on the island, because we didn't know where to go. We didn't have on the island, you couldn't be waiting for a very long time for things to arrive. It could be quite tricky. And so actually what we've done with all of our houses is not only imagine how would it feel to live in it, as in the bones of the house, but as in we also furnish it, so that we want the new homeowners can turn up literally with their toothbrush and just come in and enjoy. And so that's and that's just a really exciting part of what we do, is imagining how you would live there and then what you would need to live there. So one of the things I love that we've done, which is on the on the floor of all the bedrooms in that house you're speaking about is the coffee machine.
Yes.
So we've got a little hidden cupboard that you open, and there's the coffee machine sitting there, so you don't have to trouble yourself with going upstairs,
downstairs or upstairs
to the kitchen to go and get.
Yes,
to go
and
get
the
your
other beautiful thing I think you've brought in is local artists, right? So can you tell us a little bit about
absolutely. Well,
let's talk about those two houses, because they originated from something else, and then you connected with that, no? With the shoe.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, basically, I feel very passionately, and we all do, and at CNC, that if we're doing this, then we need to. Our homes need to be a celebration of all the gorgeous stuff that is here in Mallorca. So, not only is it local stone, and we're using local artisans, but actually we're using local artists to provide beautiful things to be in the house. So Alaró has a very long tradition of shoemaking, and we were gifted sort of a cellar's worth of shoe lasts. The shapes that you cut the soles and the tops of the shoes from, and which must be hundreds of years old. I don't know how old they are. And a local artist, Catherine, has created these beautiful installations for us.
Incredible.
That display these shoe lasts. So every one of our houses in Alaró has a piece of her art in it. That So we've got lamp, we've got mirrors, and we've built some beautiful lamp stands, and it's just lovely to celebrate something,
But it also makes the property so unique.
Absolutely.
And a great starting point for people who are also going to begin their journey on the island and maybe become collectors of local art as well. To show
and there's so much talent. I mean, I feel like it's sort of overwhelming, the number of the talent and the breadth of artistic endeavour that there is here on the island, and of course we should celebrate it. If we're lucky enough to call here our home, then
I think it's such an important point that if you have a home in the UK or in Germany or somewhere else in the world, is it so important to open your door here and you feel like you're kind of embraced not only in the property but in the whole culture and heritage of the place?
Of course, and that is why we're here. Of course the island has got beautiful sunshine and beautiful landscapes and all this, but actually what we do, we have to sit in the right place in the island, in the homes we have. It's not about importing the cheapest, most expedient materials from all over the place. It's about what is here, how can we build and develop and nurture that. And I think, so that our homes are sort of an expression of the island rather than
absolutely
sort of parachuted in from elsewhere.
And that you'll do things here, maybe have these family dinners where you're sitting all around the table, sitting outside and maybe eating food that you wouldn't normally eat in your home country. It's all these rituals and small things that make the difference.
Well, that's why we're here, isn't it? We are here for that Mediterranean outside living. And yes, we do it in a way that is... is commensurate with the spaces that we are in, and it's all the celebration.
And embracing. So taking yourself outside of your property then, because I know you walk through your beautiful doors and then you're on the street in Alaró. So how is that extended to the local village? Tell us a little bit about what is life like in Alaró for anybody who doesn't maybe know the village at the moment. How would you describe it, and why would somebody want to live there, in your opinion?
Well, I think Alaró is just a lovely place to be. It's like very at ease with itself. There's the life is centered around the square, and my happiest place is actually having a coffee, the most beautiful coffee in the world, having queued for 3 hours for for an hour in the sunshine for coffee.
Really?
But yes, there's this.
This is on Saturday morning.
On Saturday morning, Alaró has this
famous
beautiful market, and it's small, and there are sort of miles of extraordinary vegetables and fruit and everything with baskets. And there's the lovely coffee man who each cup of coffee is a work of art for him, and standing in that queue every Saturday morning is my happy place in the world.
What would you then? You take your coffee and sit in.
I take my coffee and then I go and get a samosa, which is a really bizarre combination.
Yes.
But there's a lovely guy who makes these extraordinary homemade samosas, and then you just sit there and just watch the world go by, and all the it is a locals market. It's not a tourist market.
Yes.
There are some tourists there, or expats there in the square, and it's just a very easy. It is for me just that Saturday market, which is a 200-yard walk from the house, is sort of a distillation of everything I love about Mallorca.
And it sounds like it's that moment where you feel you belong.
Yes, absolutely. You're a part of this community, and what's gorgeous is that Alaró has a huge tradition of fiestas, as so many places do in
but I think Alaró is one of them.
Yes. And some of them are wild, just these extraordinary demonies with all of the fireworks, and it's extraordinary experience to go and be part of
and
that.
Can you be, as a foreigner there, can you be involved? Can you kind of get involved in it?
Well, I think so. I think so, and I think they're
you're not on the sidelines looking in. You can participate.
Yeah, you can participate, and it's great fun, and you just feel swept up by this whole wave of energy, and every day there's another fiesta, there's another procession, there's people in extraordinary outfits knocking on doors to go and. There's a I can't remember what that one's called, but in our street, there's a fiesta where everybody comes and eats as a street along one long table.
I love this idea.
And then we've got bunting over the top of the table, and all your neighbours that you've never met, you're a part of that. I mean, it is beautiful. It is a real.
You're really selling it very well, Rachel. I feel a little bit hard done by because we bought a house here in St. Vita. We never had the Plaza Life. And we never had these street festivals. And somehow I feel we probably missed out a lot. And from what you're saying, it's like obviously our local village is Palma, but I think obviously it was very important to you as a family to be part of the community, and therefore that really sounds like you received that from Alaró.
Yeah, I think we do, I think Alaró is particularly beautiful and particularly wonderful, obviously. Yes. But I think there are so many villages in the centre of the island, and I think now more and more people are discovering that there is this different kind of life. I mean, gosh, it's so beautiful here, Helen, isn't it?
It is. I'm not, but I sometimes explain that to people who are thinking to buy in certain areas, that if it's a priority that you integrate into the local community and want to have more of an experience of the culture and heritage of Mallorca, then maybe choosing one of these villages, it would be better. Experience.
Oh yeah, I think so.
It just depends. Everybody is different,
and it's super important to us. And I think what's great about Alaró for us is that there's this whole community aspect about it, and people come and they just fall in love with the village. They go, oh my God, how did you find this place? But we know that there are other places like that. But it's also, I can walk to a lovely supermarket. Agromart has just arrived, which is the most beautiful kind of organic produce deli, isn't it? So I feel like that's the mountain coming to Mohammed. That's so fantastic. But there's also, so there's great shops and supermarkets, but also, I can get on a bike and go and I'm in the mountains, and there's almond blossom and mountains in, we're in the mountains. So in terms of biking, in terms of playing paddle, in terms of, there's lots of outdoorsy, you can just go and walk into the national park. So there's just so much stuff that's just there on the doorstep, from a practical point of view as well as from an enjoyment sports point of view.
What about your adult children? Do they enjoy the Alaró scene, or is it a bit too country or too unsophisticated?
Again, one of the things on our original list was that the kids should be able to get in and out by themselves. Yes. So actually there's a really sweet little bus that connects to the train station that takes them into Palma.
Yes.
So actually our children are older now, but they feel that they can go into Palma. They're not reliant on us all the time. There's a great train that's every 15 minutes that they can go into Palma on. and so it's yeah. But no, I mean, they love it. I mean, my daughter is with us at the moment with a whole load of her friends, and actually they haven't really left the village.
They're having great
such
fun.
a lovely time. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's really, really great.
Yeah.
So a typical kind of weekend for you and the family here, what kind of activities? Yeah, I mean, you've covered cycling and hiking.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it sort of depends what time of year it is, isn't
yes,
it? But, you know, obviously there's the Saturday market, which is our happy place. And then we obviously buy a hot chicken and make a beautiful tomato salad. And that's Saturday lunchtime. But it might involve... quite often we'll get up and walk up to the castle.
The Alaró Castle.
The Alaró Castle. We'll drive up this really tiny windy road, park the car, and then we'll walk up for an hour at dawn to watch the sunrise. And it rises over this extraordinary landscape where you cannot see another, you know, there's no one else there. And it's we're overlooking towards Orient. It's just beautiful.
Do you miss the sea?
Yes, I do, but obviously we can go and get the sea. We can get, and being in the middle of the island, we can go and get
far
whichever bit of sea that we like. You know.
Yeah. Well, how far are you from your nearest beach or favorite beach?
Probably a good half an hour. Yeah.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
And do you tend to go north or south when you look?
Well, we quite often will go up. We'll quite often go north, up to Cala San Vincenzo or up to Coertze or to Malpass. But also we'll go around to Soyer and that way. But then also you can come down to Palma, can't you?
Yeah, you are quite. You don't feel isolated. Or...
No. And quite often in the summer, I mean, it's so busy on the beaches, isn't it? Get up early and go and have an early morning swim in a beautiful bit of blue sea somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to ask you to do a favor for me. Mallorca Living is a video podcast dedicated to those who are dreaming of making a life for themselves here on Mallorca. This is a very personal project for me where I get to share with you wonderful stories about people who have actually made the transition to Mallorca. I would love to ask you to subscribe to this channel because it helps the channel grow and it makes sure that we continue to grow and prosper and reach as many people as possible who are interested in making Mallorca their home. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking and sharing your comments. We love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you about a subject which is probably, you know, it's not an easy subject. And it was around the time that you were planning to move here and your life was turned upside down.
It certainly was.
Because your daughter unfortunately had a very sudden death and this brought, I'm sure, your world crashing down. You've talked about it and we've agreed that it's okay to talk about it today.
Yeah, no, of course.
How did that influence your decision? Because you had literally just decided, right?
Yeah, well, we were in the process of buying our house and we were on holiday in a villa in Alaró when Josie died. And as you can imagine, well, you can really, but it just knocked the bottom out of our world. You know, I still can't believe it's true now. And
6 years later.
6 years since she died. And, you know, our lives have been very different to how we expected them to be. And we have this huge Josie-shaped hole in our lives that 6 years on is still a shock. And it's, it's the worst thing. It's the worst club to be a part of, you know, the club where a child has died. And I think, you know, we made some very clear decisions at that time. I don't think we realised they were decisions, but I think our family at home and maybe, you know, and our friends maybe assumed that we wouldn't go through with the purchase of our house here.
Which would have been really understandable.
Of course it would.
At the time.
It would. Of course it would. And I think, but actually for both David and I, we, I don't even remember us actually talking about it really very much, but we had this kind of understanding that actually it sort of strengthened our need to be here. And also at a time of such great and terrible grief, I don't think we could bear the thought of, I mean, not blaming a place, but, you know, of holding something negative towards something else. You know, this terrible thing happened, and for us both, in some respects, Josie is here and will always be here. And we ended up having her, she was cremated in Soyer, in the most beautiful place. And all of these things kind of added up. And then, you know, and then we bought the house, and we loved the house, and she had seen the house and was a part of that decision. And so it felt like it sort of strengthened our resolve and our need to be here, and therefore our connection with the place.
Yeah.
And I think that our decision to set up C&C was obviously influenced by that, because I think we both feel very strongly that that this community is very important to us for many more reasons now. And so that's why we have decided to do what we, well, that's one of the reasons we've decided to do what we've done. So it's been terrible and tricky and unexpected and shocking and every word you can imagine. But I have to accept, you know, we have to accept that it's happened. And given that it's happened, where are we? Where are we happiest? Where are we able to drive positive change? Where are we able to have an impact? Where are we able to be at peace? And the answer to all of those things is here.
It's incredible. It really is an amazing thing, Rachel, because most people would leave the island, run away, and never want to see the place again. Yeah. And it would be really understandable. Yeah. But from what you're saying, it's almost like the island is part of your healing.
Well, it's part of our story, and therefore has to be part of our healing. And, you know, I've not thought about it in that way, but it's certainly, it is an unavoidable fact that Mallorca will always have a huge place in our lives. But it was a place where we were very happy as a family, where Josie, you know, she was my summer child. She was born in August, and it's her birthday this week, actually. And she loved being here, you know. And so it is part of our healing, being here.
And do you feel
and I hope that no one else has has the same reason to have this
No,
connection
of
with the
course
island
not.
ever
Of
again,
course not. But it just shows that something so drastic in family life, you've also somehow turned it around and embraced it rather than resisted.
Yeah, because wouldn't it be terrible to be in the world and kind of to be not able to think about a place which is so big in your life. And so actually, we have embraced it in a really positive way. And the island has become such an extraordinary, powerful force in our family life now, because of Josie. And we built on that. And here we do so many things that she would be so proud of us for, and she would have loved. And, you know, she's with us in some way.
And her friends come and
yes, yeah.
I thought that's so beautiful that you've invited her friends to come and be part of that healing also here on the island.
Absolutely. It's a really important, it's a very important thing for us, is that this place has become a gathering point for us, for so many of our friends and family.
And to celebrate her.
And celebrate her, absolutely.
And her connection.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. After all of that in 2019 and 2020 with COVID, you said, or you've been heard to say, accept what we cannot change and change what we cannot accept.
Well, it's a very famous quote, isn't it? And I think that one of the reasons I am able to get on with my life after this terrible loss, one of the reasons my husband is, and my two girls, Beth and Nell, is because there has to be some acceptance. And without acceptance, you can't move. you're fighting. And so I think, that, without acceptance, you're stuck. So we don't want to be stuck. We want to be out there in the world doing things. And I think that is what we can do. But then by the same token, there are loads of things that we have within our gift, and maybe the terrible experience of losing Josie has, in a weird way, made me sort of more confident about who I am, because I know I am this person with this terrible thing, this terrible loss. But I also have 2 extraordinary daughters, her sisters here. And therefore, there is stuff that we can change. There is stuff that we can change. So we can change our narrative about how we deal with our grief. We can change the narrative about how we move forward in our lives. We can change our own narratives. And that needs to seek ways of changing has led me on an amazing journey here on the island as well, into sort of maybe more spiritual things, and trying to understand how I can change things. What can I do to change things that I can't accept?
Yeah, but you've also set up the charity, no?
Yes, yeah.
And WeMindTheGap has been a massive driving force in your life.
Absolutely.
And has actually brought about very positive change to a number of people. Can you tell?
So maybe owning this quote in a way is something that's been a part of my life for a very long time. But after losing Josie, I suddenly understand what it means to accept what we cannot change and to change what we cannot accept. So yes, I mean, we haven't spoken about my business Moneypenny,
yes.
which was
well, we can start there with Moneypenny.
Yeah, let's start with Moneypenny, because WeMindTheGap comes out of that really.
Okay.
So Moneypenny is a business, a really amazing business that I set up with my brother in 2000. It's a telephone answering, outsourced reception, outsourced communication company that's now, it's a really big business now, and we're in
How many
the
employees?
US. So we have about 1,400 employees, across, the majority in Wrexham, some in London, some in Atlanta in the States, and we look after millions of calls for our clients who range in size from small one-man bands to Magic Circle law firms across the world. And it's I'm not involved on an executive basis and haven't been since 2018. But it's a business that we set up on some very strong principles, which was about treating other people as you want to be treated yourself. It was about making Moneypenny the kind of business that we would want to work in ourselves. It was about always wearing our customers' shoes. So those principles led to us creating a really unusual business that's been recognised as
the happiest,
one of the happiest office in the land, one of the best companies to work for in the UK, and we have transformed the conversation around opportunity and ambition in our city of Wrexham, which is where we sort of set up by accident, really, in 2000.
But it's become a very important business.
Oh, very important. Yeah, yes. We're the biggest private employer for miles and miles around.
It's incredible.
But our reputation is for excellence and for always pushing the standards in customer service.
I saw some photos of your head office and this innovative design. No, that were you very involved in the?
Oh, absolutely. Well, absolutely.
In the head office, because I'm seeing your homes that you're creating here in Mallorca, and then what I see you created in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, there's somebody at work here who really cares about all the details, and
of course. But the principle is the same as with our homes. Is this a home I would want to live in myself? Is this an office I would want to walk in the doors of every day?
But it's very innovative.
It is, and really challenging. And it's very rare for most office spaces are built by big pension funds who then renting them, to businesses. So it's very rare for a business to build its own office. But we asked our team what they wanted from the office, and then we found extraordinary architects who then listened and created this beautiful space. So the shape of the building is dictated by the fact that no one sits more than 5 meters from natural light. which is what our team said they wanted. They all want natural ventilation. So we have a natural ventilation system in the whole building. We have social spaces. We have a pub. We have a tree house. But
I saw the tree house. It's so cool.
It's beautiful. It's
for
beautiful.
a meeting room, right?
Yes,
I love
yeah. But what it allows us to do is to hang our sort of reception desk underneath it, so it didn't feel like a confronting.
But it doesn't look
area.
like an office, really. It could be in the middle of a forest or something. It's really innovative.
But we learned so much from designing that space, and it's become recognised as one of the most beautiful office spaces in. And it's in a field in Wrexham. How fantastic is that?
But it must also help the employee, like the employees who voted, the happiest place to work.
Absolutely.
Then it all fits together, right? The
It
physical
is.
environment, the culture of the business.
Yeah.
Because it's critical to you that these people stay long term with your company. Otherwise, it would be a nightmare to keep recruiting.
Absolutely, and the most important people, we designed it for our PAs and our receptionists who are on phones and live chat day in, day out. So it was kind of standing in their shoes. What would they want? And we just kept asking them, and and I have this conversation a lot with people, is that in terms of spaces and places, every space and place has to have a floor, has to have a ceiling, has to have walls, has to, so actually, if we're putting these things in, let's just think a little bit. It doesn't cost any money, but let's just think about how we can make those elements of the building as right and as appropriate for the people who are going to use it, so that when people are in those spaces, they feel at ease, and they feel comfortable, and they feel appreciated and valued, and all of those things. So it's about the decisions that go into buildings. There are a million minuscule decisions, but it's about knowing that these decisions have to be taken anyway. Because actually, by not making decisions, you're making decisions. If you're not going to think about who's using the space, then actually more fool you, because you won't.
But it's more effort, and I think that's the difference. It's more thought and more, focusing on the small details. And most people just want to get the job done and move on to the next task, right?
Yeah. But I think that's the most important job. Is that the one thing I talk about a lot is think big, think as big as you want, have the biggest ambitions in the world, which is what Ed and I did at Moneypenny. But to think big, you have to act small. You have to get the tiniest things right. So obviously, in terms of what we do as a job, we're looking after calls and live chats. So every last conversation we have with somebody is the most important thing that we ever do. So it's not about me being important, or Ed, or our chief exec, or whatever. It's about the person who's looking after our clients.
Of course.
That person is the most important person in our business. And it's about creating environments in which that person can thrive. And the only way that you can do that is by getting the small things right.
Yes. Difficult to do.
I don't think so.
I mean, in the sense of you've got to work at it every single
you've got
day.
to
There's
work.
no,
it's relentless.
It's relentless. That's
you've
the
got
point.
to know that knowing someone's name as you walk in the door is the most important. It's important. Yeah.
So this led then to your charity work.
Yes. Well, obviously at Moneypenny, the thing that I loved most at Moneypenny was seeing our team amaze themselves with what they're capable of achieving with the right support. And so I had this thought about this sort of awareness that there were lots of young people lacking in confidence and capability and support to actually go out and get a job. So what would happen if we gave those young people who haven't had the opportunities that the rest of us maybe take for granted, what would happen if we gave them the love and care and support that we gave our Moneypenny team? So it was a very open
And this
question.
was with a project within Wrexham?
Yes, well, in the first instance, what would happen if we gave somebody from the local homeless hostel all the love and care in the world? How would that change their lives? And actually, so I ran I worked with, I identified 8 young women in 2014 who had been referred to us by homeless hostels, youth justice, Bernardo's, DWP. So young people who were really on the margins, who had very, very few opportunities, and whose stories that I grew to understand were terribly difficult. And by I sort of had money to employ these 8 young women for 6 months, and so I crammed into 6 months employment every single thing I could imagine I would want if I was 19 years old and living in the pretty miserable homeless hostel in Wrexham. So that included everything from work experience, of course, but then around that, all those holistic skills about, life skills, communication.
You provided,
everything from sexual education to who you are in a team, to the unwritten rules of employment, to how does it feel to go and, outward bound, go and canoe on the river, or go, just to do stuff with other people. And what we learned is that the power of community, the power of friendship, the power of opportunity is awesome. And those young women amazed themselves, amazed us. It's the most extraordinary 6 months of my life. I didn't sleep for 6 months because I suddenly realised the kind of enormity of the job that I'd taken on, because I had, in my little safe middle-class, middle-aged world, I assumed, everybody just needs a bit of care and opportunity and everything will be okay. But actually the barriers for these young people were so enormous. But what they showed me about their spirit and their capabilities and their ability to grasp life with both hands was so life-affirming. And so we've gone on as a charity, and we've now got 4 or 5 different programs. We're changing hundreds of young people's lives every week. And it is, I say, I'm so proud of that. We have an amazing team. But what I love most about it is that it is the simple things that make the biggest changes. It is that being a part of a community, it is having support, it is love, friendship, care, all the things that we all deserve actually in life. And it's led to me having a real passion for social mobility and for, from my safe world, understanding the challenges. Our society it's broken, but we can fix it.
And you were recognised for this initiative of setting up this charity by the Queen, right?
Yeah.
And you were awarded a CBE.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing accomplishment. But I mean, from listening to you, it's all coming from your heart, right? It's your drive, it's your passion. So it's beautiful to get that recognition from the hierarchy, but you're actually doing it because you feel it's a purpose.
It's great to get it. I still don't quite understand it, and I still find it all a bit sort of But actually, it is testament to the power of community, really.
Absolutely.
I think that recognition.
Yes, and I love that in the UK that they do recognise the people on the ground investing in the community. It is a very nice thing about the establishment.
Yes, I think so.
In the UK.
Yeah, that's a way.
And you have managed to get government support for your charity, isn't it?
Yes,
and Wrexham, and you're definitely a big initiator in your community.
Yes,
And I don't think anything stops you. You're like, here we go.
But extraordinary things happen. I mean, I have to mention, I'm from Wrexham. And many people listening will suddenly know Wrexham,
well, it's from
because of the football.
Everybody knows Wrexham.
And it's just extraordinary that this thing has happened in our tiny city, in our tiny gritty city, that we are on the world stage.
Yes.
And I think Wrexham's now one of the biggest football brands in the world, or something. It's amazing what's happening.
It's really put Wrexham on the map.
Yeah, and
right?
it's really, but it's so bonkers. And you think, well, if that can happen, then what else can happen?
Everything is possible.
Everything
is
possible.
Yeah.
And so it's so great, so I'm spending a lot of my time now. I'm chair of the Wrexham City Board, and I'm trying to make sure that all this extraordinary Hollywood fairy dust that's flying around in the air translates into real change on the ground. Yeah. And it will do. It will.
What kind of things are you doing there? It's just a matter.
Well, we're doing all sorts of things. We're trying to make sure that we've got a university that is growing. It's actually sort of creating an environment in where where we all work together rather than in silos. And I'm hoping to develop, there's a government scheme that we've got some money for. I'm hoping to build a most extraordinary youth club in the centre of the city that will become a beacon for young people all around the area to come into, and then to tie that in with all the existing youth provision so that we have this extraordinary network of opportunities for young people that, and I'm working with Transport for Wales, so it's a network that is accessible in all sorts of ways, as well as, you know, we'll have transport links to it, and so that Wrexham becomes, it already is a place of opportunity, you know, and I've shown that it's given us extraordinary opportunities with Moneypenny. With WeMindTheGap, we're giving opportunities. The football club is creating all these opportunities. But I really want, you know, to our young people to look at something and say, that's built for us, that's ours, and that's our opportunity.
And are you getting the local support you need?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, it takes time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you know, and it's a whole different world. I've never had to work with a public sector before. But no, it's fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
I think any location is very lucky to have you. And Mallorca, the same as Wrexham. No, you really bring a lot to your community, and you're not somebody to just sit down and think, oh, you know, let somebody else do it or whatever. You really are somebody who's like, when you have the idea, you roll up your sleeves, get it,
absolutely.
and pull everybody in.
But it's a bit like you, Helen. It's kind of, once you do something, and you know, when we set up Moneypenny, we had no idea what we were doing at all. But actually, you realise that actually everybody's just doing stuff, you know, and you do stuff and you learn, and it gives you confidence to go and try and do other stuff and learn. And I think that's for me, that's the journey. Is the you do and you learn.
So with all of what you've done, because you've done so much, what are you most proud about, actually?
Oh gosh, I don't know. God, I don't know.
You have a lot.
I don't know. I think. I don't know, because if I hadn't started the Moneypenny journey, I would have never started the WeMindTheGap journey. You know, I think all of these.
So it was all steps.
They're all steps.
It's just like
they're all steps, and you start somewhere and then you end up somewhere else.
But maybe it's also a part of what you were saying. It's all the small things. It's the small decisions, isn't it? It's not like that you leave one big thing. It's like your daily kind of decision making. And I always think that the success of somebody's life, and I don't mean in a financial terms, I just mean in total of what you contribute to the world, is actually a series of small decisions that you do every day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the big things, actually, is it?
Yeah. No, I don't think it is the big things, because the big things are made up of, as you say, of those small things.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the small, mundane, horrible things that you don't want to do, that you push yourself to do, but then that
they remind you what the love that you have for the things that do.
And they have to be done. So maybe it's
and I think it's having that internal compass about is this the right thing? And I think as I grow older, I'm trusting my compass more. So, you know, when Josie died, it was very unusual for her. You know, we were all here as a family. It was very unusual for us to decide not to fly home, and for her to have her funeral here. And but it just felt like the right thing. So I think sometimes because it's being aware of when things feel like the wrong thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, this when
it's like
when
trusting
she died,
your instinct.
This kind of machine kicked in, and we were speaking with the British. Everybody was amazing. British Council about flying her body home and all those kind of things. And I just woke up one morning and thought, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. And so maybe there's a confidence that's built over the years that means that when it comes to because that was a really big thing, is that you actually think, no, I can make this decision. You know. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe that's one of the things I'm proudest of, because it was totally against convention, against everything that everybody else expected. But it was right for me and my
But I don't think you're somebody who follows the conventional path, actually.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so. No,
you're not. And your head office for Moneypenny is testament to that.
Yeah.
Your continued love and connection to Mallorca in spite of, everything that happened.
Yeah.
So you're not somebody who's walked the normal path. And I think that's what makes you and so special.
Yeah, but that's what makes everybody who they are, isn't it?
But maybe a lot of us, we just follow, and you're obviously leading in a good way.
Well.
Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and it's something I've wanted to do for a long time.
Well,
so I
you,
managed
Helen.
to nab you when you were on the island this time, and I'm very, very happy that we could sit down and have this really inspiring conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
But before we finish, I have our quick fire questions.
Yes.
So, beach or mountain?
Well, I have to say mountain, because I can always go to the beach, yes.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset. Summer heat or winter calm?
Oh, I think winter calm, almond blossom cycling.
Okay, very nice. Siesta or fiesta?
Fiesta, obviously.
Always.
Always.
Pamboli or ensamada?
I don't like either, but
You're not a big pamboli?
No.
So what do you like?
Ensamada,
What do you like if you don't like the pamboli or the ensamada?
I like the crystal bread and the
Oh,
yes.
Good one.
Yeah.
And North Coast or South Coast?
North Coast.
North Coast.
Yeah.
Very good. Rachel, thank you so much.
No,
I
thank you,
really
Helen.
hope you can continue to contribute to Mallorca in the amazing ways that you found to be able to do that. And I wish you many more years of joy and fulfillment and passion and deep connection to Mallorca. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank
you. If you're dreaming of making Mallorca your home, let me invite you to use our property buyers agency service. With our service and our help, we can guide you to the right location that fits with your lifestyle. We'll also help you find the perfect home that fits with your dream. Contact us today for an online consultation or book an appointment and come and see us in Palma. We would love to help you make your transition to Mallorca a reality.